우리는 하늘이 만든 사막을 꿈의 도시로 만들고 있습니다. 지구의 가치를 높이는 기술, 두산중공업.
They turned to an ingenious hanging weight called a tuned mass damper. These are installed at vulnerable points in the exoskeleton. When the wind blows and vortex shedding starts to create dangerous vibrations, the 5-ton weight will swing instead of the structure and damp down the vibrations to well within safety limits. 11 of these systems are fitted from the top of the 60-meter mast all the way down through each of the steel bow structures. These dampers safely cancel out the threat. June 1997, and Dubai's reinventing itself as the luxury tourist destination. This old hotel has to bite the dust as the Burj Al Arab, the symbol of the new Dubai, approaches its final form. Just 30 months before the deadline, the crew begins constructing the toughest engineering challenge. Sheikh Mohammed wants the building to impress, so the design calls for a restaurant that looks as if it's suspended in the sky.
I like the idea of the visitor sitting out in space, looking across the view towards the Arabian Gulf and Dubai, and sort of almost floating up in the clouds. The whole idea of hanging out over space would give you a dining experience pretty unparalleled.
The Al Muntaha, or Ultimate Sky View restaurant, will soar 200 meters above the sea and project nearly 27 meters out on both sides from the building's narrow central core. Once again, right through down a gauntlet to structural engineer Anthony McCarter. It was his job to secure this eccentric wing-like structure with no visible means of support.
When Tom first showed it to me, I must admit I thought he was crazy. This room is actually the size of most buildings, and Tom decided that he wanted to take it and stick it outside of the centre of gravity of the supporting structure. So there it was, dangling in the breeze with only the structural engineers to hold it up.
And if the engineers were to get the calculations wrong, the whole thing could tumble 200 meters to Earth. McCarter found a solution to the pull of gravity that pushes conventional engineering to new heights. In the concrete core at the back of the building, he cast a series of steel brackets known as embedments. 10 enormous steel girders radiate off them, up to 1.6 meters high. These beams form the base of the rigid steel floor. The wing-like exterior was attached to it, and the entire restaurant could then be enclosed in aluminium and glass. This gravity-defying structure will survive winds of close to 100 miles an hour. It's an engineering triumph. But they were just 4 years into the 6-year program. No one could afford to take their foot off the accelerator.
The program was relentless and challenging. 24-hour working, 6 o'clock, site meetings in the morning, every morning.
You live, sleep, breathe the building.
The challenge really was on, can we design it and finish it by the original program?
The Burj Al Arab was due to open in time to celebrate the millennium, just 2 years away. The world's media was watching to see if the hotel would be the masterpiece the Sheikh promises, and if the team could complete it on schedule. The only way to deliver on time was to start the interior decoration long before the exterior was finished. In a temperate climate, this wouldn't be an issue, but humidity in Dubai reaches 100%, and temperatures can soar to a scorching 49 degrees. These conditions simply don't allow the team to fit delicate finishes like gold leaf, silk and carved wood.
If we'd started to put materials that were susceptible to moisture at that time, they would have just fallen apart.
To make the deadline, the contractors needed to air condition this giant building site and bring the temperature down dramatically. The first step was to enclose the building by installing the final wall, Wright's iconic white sail. But it was going to be tough.
When we first proposed the idea of the fabric sail wall, there was a lot of scepticism. People thought that it couldn't be done.
They stretch woven glass fibre sections between huge horizontal beams. The surface is pre-coated with Teflon to resist dirt and sand. The result notches up another first for the Burj, the largest fabric wall anywhere in the world. The reflective properties of the white sail will help keep the temperature down. But the contractors still needed to find a way for trucks to enter the building without allowing in the desert heat. The solution was to install a huge airlock. Trucks drive in, the vehicle pauses as the doors close behind it, a second set of doors then open, and the vehicle moves out of the building. The airlock and the sail wall seal off the building. But cooling a space this large during construction could create another setback. This unique structure now boasts the world's largest atrium, soaring to an amazing 180 meters. All this warm air can hold far more water vapor than cold air. If they were to cool this hot, humid environment too quickly, they could create uncontrollable condensation.
We could have had a rain cloud form at the top of the atrium and create massive damage to the interior design.
The only way to avoid rain clouds would cost valuable time. The contractors switched on the giant cooling system and brought the interior temperature down steadily by less than 1 degree a day. Given the schedule, it was painfully slow.
We started to cool the building down in June 1998. By December 98, it was pretty well down to temperature.
At last, the interior decoration could begin. But for a job like this, that has to be approved by the Sheikh, they needed a world-class designer. Quan Chu, who's already worked for the Sultan of Brunei, knows exactly what it takes to satisfy royalty. So, she was ideally qualified to take on the most luxurious hotel on the planet, with its daunting 202 palatial suites and 180-meter atrium. But she had just 24 months from design to completion to be ready for the guests booked in for the millennium.
I had a very, very tight program. So what we did was that the entire office, all 50 designers, just dropped everything else. And solidly, we just worked on the Burj Al Arab.
She not only faced a frantic schedule, Sheikh Mohammed was expecting her to amaze the world.
The brief basically asked us to design something that's never been ever designed before, and that will never be designed ever again.
Quan Chu and her team pulled out all the stops and began to produce interiors they hoped would match the Sheikh's ambition. But as they struggled to meet the deadline, another more severe problem came up. The Sheikh had a new requirement. He wanted to offer guests every conceivable electronic gadget in their suite. But this could have dangerous consequences. A new member of the team was suddenly in the hot seat. Electrical engineer Rob Roos faced the biggest challenge of his career.
There was a total redesign or a total change in the interior design, and that imposed overnight almost a 50% increase in the electrical load of the building.
The Sheikh's plans mean each suite requires an enormous 14 kilowatts. That's 8 times the load of a normal British house for every suite. With 202 suites, that's enough electricity for a town of over 6,000 people.